Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Friday, March 2nd at 11:33 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. New CMIP6 data suggests an extended period of solar decline extending through 2100 starting now. Let's go to the weather.gov map at Weather Ready Nation. You can see winter storm warnings and watches throughout the Sierras, through Nevada, and into Utah as this storm moves east. This storm that's creating these record snows here in the Sierras, up to 6 feet being reported, is going to move and hit the areas just hit by record flooding just now on the East Coast as the storm bombs up and through the Poconos. We'll get to that. We have gale warnings here in the southern plains, and let's read the alert. Heavy snow and high winds in the west, high fire danger in the southern plains. Coastal storm slowly departs the east. A powerful coastal storm will slowly move away from the east coast. Coastal flooding from the impacts of the storm will continue through at least Saturday. Out west, an anomalous storm, grand solar minimum much, will continue producing feet and feet of snow and high winds in California and across the Great Basin. And that's a heads up. Powerful Noreaster producing major flooding, leaving 1.6 million homes without power, coming from the watchers. More than 1.6 million homes and businesses lost power Friday, March 2nd, as a powerful nor'easter hit mid-Atlantic and New England. At least one person killed. We'll be reporting on that. Now, this nor'easter will create record storm surges Friday night, which is now, and some homes may be destroyed. Now, I'm going to leave you links to our electrician here at the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Jimmy, was up in Boston, and I shared that on Solar Shutdown today. I hope you guys got to watch that. But for the second time this year, a powerful nor'easter is tearing up the Atlantic coast with brutal storm surge and lashing the northeast with destructive winds, and heavy snow on the backside is creating whiteout condition on the roads, some of which are blocked by fallen trees and down power lines. That's for the 1.6 million people out there without power tonight. That number might be increasing, but the latest, storm-felled trees kill 5, including 2 children. This is coming out, most recent information we have. Here are sandbags filling the boat ramp at the outermost harbor up in Cape Cod. The latest on the major late winter storm pounding the East Coast. An 11-year-old boy in New York State is the 5th person reported killed by downed trees in a fierce storm bringing high winds and heavy rain to the East Coast. A tree crashed through a house in New York's Putnam County shortly after noon on Friday, and a 6-year-old Virginia boy and adults in Virginia, Rhode Island, and Maryland also died Friday due to fallen trees or limbs. Whew. That's a heads up. The barges were part of the construction project for the new Mario Cuomo Bridge, formerly known as the Tappan Zee Bridge, and these barges broke loose in the Hudson River during the storm. So it's a nightmare out there, and it is ongoing. It is unfolding as I'm making the video. So there is loss of life happening now. Now, Riley is the name of the storm because everything is Hollywood. It's bombing the Poconos currently, where I grew up. There are vehicles sitting in traffic on 80 West, which is I've been in some major systems here. This is a very dangerous road, so there's going to be loss of life on 80 tonight. Originally predicted to impact the Poconos with only 4 to 8 inches. Now, originally predicted to impact the Poconos with 4 to 8 inches. I told you that there's no way these forecasters are going to be modeling this correctly. It strengthened quickly, bringing heavier snowfalls and stronger winds than expected. In a nutshell, the bomb cyclone is a very rapid drop in pressure within 24 hours. On your home barometer, that would mean a 1.7-inch drop in 24 hours. Now, according to Gelber, the Strasburgs received a third of its average winter snowfall in one day, topping 12 inches just tonight. and Tobyhanna received 20 inches of snow, the highest ever reported in Monroe County so far. 1.6 million homes are without power, and we don't see storms like this very often. But we do when we're in unique times of cosmic ray flux and a solar diminishment unseen since the 1800s. So as the next 2 years unfold, this is only a taste of what's coming next year. I'm sorry to say that. The heavier wet snowfall was providing a headache when it came to removal. Heads up, the National Guard has been activated in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos. And that's a good thing because there are people that are stuck on roadways right now, struggling for their life. Whitefish Mountain Resort, this is Montana, is on track for record snowfall. Montana is breaking all records on the west side, including Whitefish Mountain Resort. They've had so much snowfall that the resort is trending towards record-breaking base depth. The resort recorded 91 inches of snow in January and topped that in a short month of February with 121 inches of snow on 22 of the 28 days. The resort officially surpassed 300 inches on January 24th, the second earliest date reaching the milestone in 10 years. The summit base depth is currently over 12 feet. And that's a place you want to be skiing, so get out there. Now up in Alaska, snowfall is piling up daily records. The monthly average in Fort St. John is exploding. Nothing but snow. Tired of the snow? Too bad. A late winter storm has so far dropped 29 more centimeters of snow in the city, with up to 10 more expected by the time it stops. Environment Canada says 17.8 centimeters fell on March 1st, beating the previous record of 7.1 by almost tripling it, which goes back to 1964. These are unprecedented record levels. They're not just beating records, they are destroying them, eclipsing them. There's no other word to use. And another 12 centimeters has fallen since midnight today, beating the previous record of 8.6 back in 97. Eclipsing it, they should be saying. The city has also passed its average monthly snowfall for the month of 28.7 centimeters, and that's a lot of snow, with 29 more days to go, and often 18 of them until the spring equinox. So Alaska is getting buried. Arctic blast claims several lives and paralyzes European transport. Deaths were reported in Sweden, Denmark, and other parts of the continent as the Siberian conditions affect much of Europe. This is happening right now. It's ongoing. Deaths, accidents, and delays as Europe struggles with an extreme cold snap, as predicted. It forced closures in airports in Scotland, Switzerland, France, and Ireland, left hundreds of drivers stranded in snowy highways. Record-breaking snowfalls are blasting parts of Scotland. Renfrewshire, Dunbartonshire, and Inverclyde have as much as 50 centimeters of snow. Parts of Scotland have experienced record-breaking snowfall this week. One of the worst affected was Bishopton in Renfrewshire, accumulating the most snow since records began 18 years ago. Records began 18 years ago? What is happening? We're going to be learning that volcanoes are exploding, as predicted. But in Gogerbank, Edinburgh, 21 centimeters of snow was recorded Friday morning, estimated to be the deepest March snow in the city since 1979, when 25 centimeters was witnessed. And there are record-breaking totals coming across Scotland. People are being buried, homes are being ransacked, and a snowdrift even trapped families in a farmhouse for 3 days. Derek and Pamela Mailer have appealed for help from local farmers in South Lancashire. 5 families have been snowed in at neighboring farmhouses in South Lanarkshire for 3 days. These are humans being snowed in. This is unprecedented reporting that we're doing live. And not only that, this storm named Emma is this farmer is having to go out and take his sheep out of these 8-foot drifts. He saved 5 today. This is amazing footage of farmers that are saving their livestock to save their lives. They're basically using these giant canes to pull through the drifts because they're losing their flocks. This is just amazing. I love this guy. That's how you do it, guys. And here's an example of how they pull through. There's a sheep there. Now, we raise farm animals here, and even though we eat them, they have the best lives. And we love them, and we treat them with respect. And these people are doing the same thing. And these poor animals get stuck up in the drift, and they get slowed down from the extreme cold. And they're doing their best to find them. And that's awesome. It's a heads up for these guys. They're saving sheep as we speak. Now, 9 held after gang attack in Dublin, little with digger during Storm Emma. During this storm, what happened is one of the people that are plowing smashed into a supermarket for the general public because they're starving. Everything's closed. This is a one-day event, and people weren't able to stock up. So someone who had a plow smashed into the supermarket, and chaos ensued. 9 people have been arrested after a digger rammed into a Lidl, which is a supermarket in Dublin. Looting took place just after the city was hit with the worst snowstorm in decades. This is only the beginning. Next year it will be worse. The year after that will continue to worsen. And these looting episodes are only going to get worse. So it's all happening now live as we report on it. I don't think that's going to be in the mainstream. Let's take a quick look at the seismic update. There is a massive uptick of moderate upquakes worldwide, including we're still watching this area down here for a major quake in the Chile area, which we predicted yesterday. There's still some deep quakes rumbling, and I'm very concerned about a large 7.5 or greater in Chile in the next 24 hours. So that's a heads up there. Also, we have Aleutian Island activity, and we're about to cover that. There's a 5.1 at Sitkin, which is a volcano. So we're going to be watching Sitkin because right here where I'm pointing, Cleveland erupted today. So let's talk about it. Aleutian volcano erupts, sending ash cloud miles into the sky. There's a picture of Cleveland volcano on July 25th, 2016. A precursor to what happened just today. An active volcano in the Aleutians erupted Friday morning and sent a small ash cloud 3 miles into the atmosphere, according to the AVO. Sensors at Mount Cleveland volcano in Chugunidak Island recorded a small explosion and ash cloud. Guys, you're going to be getting links to all this down in the bottom left underneath of where it says show more in gray. Click it. Cleveland is color code orange. The alert level, watch. Whoa, heads up. And there it is. So you can see the alert here. And it is the 4-pack. The Quadro amazing volcanic system here in the Aleutians. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 major volcanoes, which will all be awakening in the near future. Now let's talk about Cleveland, currently under orange alert watch. It's also known as Cleveland Volcano. It's a nearly symmetrical stratovolcano on the western end of Chugunidak, which is part of the 4 mountains, which I just showed you. The island of 4 mountains, west of Umnak in the Fox Islands. Now, this has a historical condition of erupting during high cosmic ray flux, including its first eruption starting in the late 1700s, erupting regularly during the 1800s in the Dalton minimum, all the way through the centennial minimum, and quieting down as the solar maximum took hold. And only to reawaken recently to continue its contribution to the global cooling which will ensue in the next decade. Now here's an ash plume rising from Mount Cleveland on the 23rd. May 23rd of 2006 was one of the beginnings of the descent into the grand minimum. So if we come over here, during this major cosmic ray flux period between the cycles 23 and 24, Cleveland woke up. And in the next 3 years, we're talking hundreds of volcanoes waking up on the Pacific Ring of Fire. I'll leave you links to Cleveland so you can get familiar with this volcano, as it is the potential to erupt in a VEI 5 or greater way in the near future. Now, worldwide volcano news and updates from Volcano Discovery is not even covering Cleveland. But today, so far, they have Fuego, Popocatépetl, Ducono, and Sabancaya erupting in different varieties, intermittent volcanic ash. There's a volcanic ash advisory at Popo. Sabancaya has sporadic puff emissions, and Ducono has a volcanic ash advisory. Torrealba, Reventador, and Fuego also erupting in the last 24 hours. Now let's talk about some nonsense here coming from the weather zone. Arctic danger zone for scientists trying to unravel the disappearing ice mystery. There is no ice disappearing. In fact, it's at all-time thickness highs, and as a glacial pattern will predict, it's building here in the islands, which is where glaciation begins during a glacial maximum. So the thickness on the Greenland ice here on the southern coast or the eastern coast is thicker than it has ever been in historic times, because when glaciation begins, it starts here in this island area. And we can see here ice in the realm of 15 to 20 feet thick, and that's exactly what we'd expect if we wanted glaciers to start building. They begin building right in this circle, not up in the water. The major glacial cycle starts on land, and it builds right here. And I think this is the first year when we're seeing it. So we can go back to 2003, 15 years ago, and I want you to look at Hudson Bay at the same time in all these areas, including the east coast of Greenland. Almost no thick ice. And now if we skip it to today, it is replaced with ice that is almost 5 times thicker in just 15 years. And we're exponentially increasing in this building of thick ice here on the landforms. And what I mean by that is if we come over to the current surface mass ice budget at the DMI, which I just erased, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Here we are currently, and here we are on the 1981 to 2010 average, and you can see there is a massive surplus of ice that is building on the Greenland ice sheet. And I just reported yesterday on 12 gigatons of ice forming in a single day on February 24th, and that's right here. And you can see it's spiking back up because for the entire month of March, the prediction is to be below -30 for the entire month. So we're going to see a second spike here going above 12 gigatons, and they're going to have to change the graph, I assure you. And that's my prediction, and I guarantee that's exactly what will happen. Now, volcanoes, they explode, and we know it. So let's come back over here, and we can still see that we just had a 4.8 kickoff in Papua New Guinea. So we'll be watching this. There's also a major uptick over here in the Indonesia area, including a 5.2 in Sukabluan. So we're going to keep an eye on that, as well as Sitkin Volcano. Now, if we go over to the Arctic danger zone, what they're talking about here, if you actually read the article, they went up into the Arctic to prove that there's no ice up there, and they got stuck. And here it even says, on her mission, Dr. Meyer faced shifting thin ice. Nonsense. Wild storms with -40 degrees. Why would you have thin ice if there's wild storms with -40 degrees? The whole concept of the article makes no sense. And of course, polar bears, which are all starving because of global warming. It's really getting sickening. Let's go to spaceweathernews.com, and we can see the departing sunspot 2700 has become quite active in the last 24 hours. We've had a B flare, a small C, and several other Bs kicking off at the spot as it turns away from Earth, thankfully. Look at the plasma stream here. The solar wind is diminishing to almost below 350. And KP has been very steady at KP1. That might fall down to 0 for a short period of time before it kicks back up as this coronal hole stream couples back with us. Now, what we have to look forward to, though, is a major sunspot here on the turning around the limb. Now, look at this tiny spot that's providing us with C flares, and look at this magnetic energy that is coming around the limb. So what we're seeing at this solar minimum point is sunspots are flaring, just not when they're Earth facing. But a sunspot of this size that is Earth facing, heads up. So we're going to be watching this for the next week to 10 days as it turns and faces Earth. KP is low, so we should look for a major earthquake in Chile in the next 24 hours. And if we look at the aurora forecast, there's a good chance that you in north central Canada that you're looking at auroras right now as we're making the video. Now, I want to thank Robert Felix again for being our first guest on our premiere radio show on Revolution Radio, Freedom Slips. It's every Wednesday night from 10 to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard. That's 7 to 9 Pacific time on freedomslips.com, Studio A. Now, I've just got that radio conversation up for you guys to listen to. It's 2 hours of the most amazing geologic conversation I had with a like-minded individual. This was not scripted or planned. It was absolutely just two scientists discussing in a natural fashion the information they know and trying to get the information out to the public. And I would suggest you go to his website, icegenow.info. Check out his bookstore at store.icegenow.info. There's a link here at my Steemit. There's a link at the bottom of the YouTube. So check out that radio conversation, and that's a heads up. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. It's been a long one, but an important one. A lot to learn. There's a lot to talk about, and we need to do it in a respectful way so that we can be teaching the masses about the shifting nature of the climate as we move forward. The people that don't want to believe the global warming alarmists, which is 80 out of every 100 people you're walking by, are slowly waking up to what's happening. They see that the narrative doesn't fit the reality. And you can now start to explain to them what the reality is. Keep watching the show. Keep getting your game up. Start preparing now to grow food in the future. Learn how to fail at growing food. This is the time when all farmers worldwide north of 30 degrees are planting seeds. They're planting their warm weather crops so that they can have the right size seedlings to get out and harden for the spring. So you should be starting now. Go buy some seeds, put them in the dirt, and make a mistake. It will help you survive and thrive in the coming times. And that's a heads up. Be safe, everybody.